Recording in progress.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending upon where you are in the world. Welcome to today's webinar, which is Marketing Your Business on the Web in 2025. I was just looking at this. I've been doing this particular type of session for many years. In fact, my oldest recorded item was from 2006. So almost 20 years I've been putting on this version or a version of this presentation. My name, for those that don't know me, is Steve Scott, and I welcome you here today. If you've never met me before, I am the owner and the director of training at both the Tampa and the New York SEO Training Academy. You can find them at Tampa-SEO and New-York-SEO.com. I'm also the owner of Steve Scott SEO All-Stars Membership and Training Program. We'll talk more about that a little bit later, but you can find that at SteveScottSEO.com. In addition to all of those things, I'm also the vice president of the Search Engine Academy. And the Search Engine Academy has been around since the very early 2000s, was actually the first group of people that were training people how to do SEO in workshop format over a one-week class starting back, I think it was 2001 or 2002. I'm also the chairman of the SEA's education committee. So I basically create a lot of the material that the other trainers in our network around the globe use to train their students. I've been a web strategist and SEO consultant now for over 25 years. I actually first started offering SEO services to clients back in 1997, but I have a history in computer training that dates back to 1990 when I was working in Manhattan at companies like IBM, American Express, Pfizer, Revlon, I mean, you name it, teaching them how to use Word and Windows and Excel. Hell, even back then I was teaching them how to use a mouse because nobody knew how to use a mouse in 1990. I am an SEA, Search Engine Academy, certified master SEO trainer, and I'm currently in I think it's my 18th year actually now, teaching with the SEA and over 30 years of corporate training. If you need my help, you can find my information at the top left-hand corner of all of our slides. You can reach out to me at stevescottseo.com, email me at steve@stevescottseo.com, or you can give me a call at 888-736-7838, or even reach me on my local number here if you're in Tampa, 813-951-4484. Now, we have a lot to cover today, so if you have any questions, please go ahead and insert those questions into the Q&A box. We'll be sure to cover all the questions, although I will be going through a lot of material today, and so I might not get to your questions when you ask them, but I do promise I will stay as long as necessary to answer everybody's questions, so please do the same. We are recording today's meeting, so if you do need to bail out at any point in time, if we run over time, and I guarantee you we are going to run over time. As I was going through this, I'm like, man, there is a lot more to cover now than there was 19 years ago. I went from 25 slides, we're almost at, I think, almost 85 or 90 slides. So there's a lot going on that's changed, and I want to make sure that we cover everything. So again, if you have to bail out, don't worry about it. If you have to leave, you can check out our recording where we're going to be giving you all the information. You can always go back and see what you missed. Or if you want, you can always reach out to me with any questions you may have. In fact, if you fancy a free 15-minute consult with me, I offer this to anybody. There's no strings attached. There's no cost to this, no hard push or anything. Just reach out to me at 15min.stevescottseo.com. We set up a few minutes to talk about anything you may be dealing with, questions you may have, or if you're just trying to find out more about my services and how I can maybe help you out. All right, let's go ahead and get the show on the road. Before we do get started, I just want to mention an upcoming masterclass that I've got coming up. This is a huge one, I think. This is going to be my Google Business Profile Masterclass. We're calling it the Ultimate Google Business Profile Blueprint. Everything you need to win the local search game, basically. So come out. It's actually going to be June 17th and 18th from 1 to 3:30. And I'm really doing that so we have a lot of time to get any of your questions answered during the live sessions, if necessary. It's only $47, and normally I charge $497 for this in person. When people come to sit in room with me, but we're doing it for $47. You're gonna get lifetime access to the replays, and we're even gonna have an additional bonus Q&A session. So if you can't make the times, you can still go ahead, join the class, and then you can watch the replays. And on Monday, the 23rd, from 1 to 2 p.m., I'm gonna have a live open session where you can come back, ask any questions. So if you've been in class and you need a few moments to get some thoughts together, or you're reading through or looking at your own site after taking class, you can come back in on Monday, ask any questions, and we'll get them all covered. Easy link to that is ssseo.pro/GBP. Get you into the location here. Check it out. Come join us. I can't wait to see you there. Also, for those that don't know, I run what we call the Steve Scott SEO All-Stars membership program. This is a membership program where you pay anywhere from $97 to $197 to $487 per month to get access to all of my training material. Currently, we're at over 80 hours of content. We're about to add a bunch more with the GBP class as well. And we offer, access to Facebook, access to me to talk, questions, website reviews, you name it. All right. Very, very fully, very, very complex stuff from very beginner stuff to all the way to very complex stuff. Nobody in the industry that's offering training offers this amount of training, this level of training, from everything from the very beginner all the way through advanced section. The best part, you can try it for 14 days for free. Check it out at allstars.stevescottseo.com. And if you stick around to the end, I'm going to give you a very special bonus option that you might want to take advantage of. Okay, so let's talk about marketing on the web in 2025. That's starting off on the right foot. Again, we're going to assume that you know nothing. We're going to assume that maybe you don't even have a website. I don't want to leave anybody out. So just be aware that marketing your business on the web's changed dramatically over the years. This is particularly true over the last several years, where Google's focusing now on user experience, on their EEAT, which stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, meaning, they want people, websites, and the people who are looking at them, they want those people that are looking at the site to understand that the person's site they're looking at has experience, they have some expertise in the industry that they're talking about, they're authoritative, and they're trustworthy. This typically comes through building links and putting out great content, getting good reviews, things like that. So it's a really important thing that Google's been focusing on. In fact, it's spoken about a lot in their quality raters guideline. So we're not going to get into the details of that today. I do have a whole session on that in our membership program, but this is some of the things that have become much more important over the years. Also, the introduction of mobile first index. Back in the day, how your desktop version looked is how you got ranked. Now it's how your mobile version of your website is performing that's going to decide whether you're going to get ranked or not, or getting ranked well. They're focusing now on speed, security, and what they call their core web vitals. And of course, now the hot topic these days and what's changing everything is artificial intelligence, whether that's Gemini, AI overviews, or AI mode. And that's strictly in Google, right? We're really talking about Google here. So there's a huge new focus in mobile, trustworthiness, the user experience itself, speed, security, and of course, artificial intelligence. Now, in the early days, it was pretty easy. All you had to do is use the right keywords in the right places on your website. Then you went ahead and acquired a bunch of links from different sources, and that became the major priority back then. And you would rank really well. Nowadays, not so much, right? And so what we're doing, you see a lot more of these days, and even back then, people would supplement organic rankings by adding pay-per-click, right? Google Ads that help drive visitors to your website. But today there's a lot more involved, right? Now you've got a zillion different social media sites, right? Focusing your efforts on local search, particularly if you are serving a specific geographic market, that's become a dominant force in acquiring traffic from search. Of course, reviews, we all go ahead and use reviews to make decisions as far as who we trust, who we're going to go do work with. And then again, artificial intelligence is back there now too, and we have to deal with the ramifications of artificial intelligence and how people are using it to find the information they need these days, and they're not really using it in search. We'll get more involved in that as well. The general consensus is when it comes to Google, there's over 200 ranking factors that are used to determine whose site is the most relevant for any given search term. But again, we don't really know how many hundreds of sub-factors that each of those 200 factors may be. So I hear these numbers all the time, 200 ranking factors. They've been talking about that number for a long time. I think it was, I think Backlinko, I forget his name, did a report on what those 200 factors are. But again, each of those factors is more of a big picture thing, and there generally are a lot more sub-factors within each one that really go into who's going to rank first, second, and third. But what's really interesting that you might not know of, that Google makes about anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 changes to its algorithm each year. Back in 2021, they actually reported making 4,367 changes to search. Just Google did that, right? I mean, that's 12 plus changes per day on average. That is a lot of changes. Now, that's not the core updates where those are the kind of the big ticket items. There are often these little tiny changes that are going on, are really kind of them to figure out what's working, what doesn't work, what makes things better, so on and so forth. And then they will kind of build that into a core update where they make a bunch of changes to try to make search better in Google's estimation for their users, which are us, right? But let's face it, what's a small business to do if there's all these changes going on, all these ranking factors, if you don't really know what's going on? So today, I'm going to try to give you an overview, right, to get you started off on the right foot, give you some specific things that you should be looking at and should be doing, and just to kind of give you a good sense of what it really takes to get ranked on the web, all right, and why why it's so valuable, why it's so important, and why, if you're hiring out, why it's so expensive. And you may come to understand just what it takes after this is over. So what's exactly involved in getting started on the right foot? Well, here's today's agenda. We're first going to be talking about site creation, design, and redesign, and what's involved with that, on-site optimization, and then we'll talk about off-site optimization, or what we call link building oftentimes. We'll talk about local search optimization and your listings, social media marketing, pay-per-click programs or paid or sponsored ads, monitoring and maintaining your website, and staying up to date. So let's first start with the basic site creation, design, and redesign. Now, this is really the way to get started when you're first thinking about building a website. In fact, we just signed a contract with a new client to build a brand new website. They're going to be building a salon. And before we really get going with that, we want to do some research, right? And that research really involves two things: the keyword variety research, right? What do people look for? What keywords are people searching for often? Where is there potential to get ranked? What are the very hard words to get ranked for? Where is there some more specific words of phrases that we can get a bit more focused on? And also the competitive landscape, right? Who are we going up against? What are they doing? What do we have to do to beat them? What kind of menu structure do they have? What kind of content do they have? Oftentimes looking at your competitors can really give you a sense of what your website has to be like or what you have to do to compete. So research is really important before you get going. Then you want to think of a really good company name, right? This is especially true of startups, right? Obviously, if you have a business for a long time, you're not going to be changing your company name, but having a good company name that either is an interesting, catchy word or phrase, or maybe is using keywords. People do that as well. We'll talk about that in a few. Is an important step. What domain name you're going to select also has some value, and who you choose as a web host has some value and importance. So let's take a deeper dive. First, we want to talk about selecting the right keywords, right? This is really one of the first and most important steps in having a successful website, not just having a website, but one that's successful in search, is researching the right keywords and the right phrases that people are actually searching for, not guessing at what people search for, but actually knowing what people are searching for. This takes the guesswork out of what people are looking for and gets you laser focused on what's actually being searched for, how often it's being searched for, and then how hard or easy it might be to get ranked for a keyword like that. And this can kind of really help guide you in your content creation, menu layout, and other things regarding your website as well. But this really has to happen before starting any web design strategies. It's often completely ignored or totally overlooked by folks that are just getting into the business. Now, you're going to need some tools to determine what words people are actively searching for. And I even have a whole session in our membership program about what are some of the tools that you need in your tool belt if you're going to get into the SEO business. Just like anybody else, if you're a contractor, you're a police officer, I always like to joke around, if you're a Batman, in order to do your job, you need a tool belt, and that tool belt has various things in it, right? If you're a contractor, you're going to need hammers and screwdrivers and pliers and all sorts of things. Well, without those, you're not going to be able to do a good job. And the same is true in SEO. If you're going to get into the SEO world, whether as a profession or maybe just for the business that you're in, you're going to need some tools. And one of those tools are going to be keyword tools. Now, I'm not covering all the tools here. I'm not going to go into these, but these are some of the tools that are out there. Google Trends is a free tool that you can use from Google, and it gives you some ideas on what words and phrases are sort of trending, either kind of new, what words or phrases might be seasonal and cyclical. I remember working with a company that sold paint for pools, pool paint. Well, in January, the demand for pool paint is not very high. It's very seasonal. You get into, May, June, starts really ramping up. And then as it kind of the summer months come, it sort of eases off a little bit as well. So Google Trends is a great way to get some information, but it doesn't really give you anything about the numbers. You don't know how often people are searching, what kind of competition levels there are, how hard or easy it is to get found. And so one of the other tools I like to use a lot is Google Search Console. And this is only if you have a site that's existing. And Google Search Console, a really great tool. I'm going to actually open it up here for you guys and bring you into client. Let me just grab a client here. Here we go. There we go. So here's a client. And in Google Search Console, you can go ahead and you can see the words that they got clicked on right here. These are the different things that you can do. Look at the total clicks they got, impressions, average click-through rate, and the average position of that keyword. And you can begin to see what they got clicked on here, up to 1,000 at one time. But what I like to do is go to the impressions area and see what are people looking for, right? What are they searching for the most where had the potential to be found, whether I'm at number 1 or number like 101, right? So you see power washing services near me. They're on average in the 71st spot organically, but they have a click, and you might be wondering, well, how is that possible? Well, probably somebody local, somebody near them. But here's sidewalk cleaning, paver cleaning, pressure washing brick, paver sealing, concrete cleaning. So these, if I didn't even think about optimizing or I'm getting close, I can use this as a sort of keyword research tool. And I can find lots of different tools that are like that, and I can filter it as well. I'm not going to get into the details here, but we do have a whole class on Google Search Console in our membership program. Uber Suggest, another good tool from Neil Patel. This is a pretty reasonably priced one too. It can do lots of good keyword research. You can even get like a few, I think it's like 10 or 15 top keywords for free. Run it a couple times, great one there. Google's Keyword Planner is a tool by Google, but it's really geared towards their paid service. And if you don't have an active account and you're not like regularly spending money, you're going to get ranges of numbers, right? You're going to get like 1,000 to 10,000, 10,001 to 100,000, instead of getting an actual value for how often is that word searched for. And you have a tool like SEMrush, other tools out there like Ahrefs and Moz. They have tools also where you can do keyword research. There's plenty of others out there as well, but they're paid tools. And if you really want to get into the nitty gritty and really get under the hood about competition, difficulty, and so on, these paid tools are going to be your best bet. But you are going to need a tool to get the right keyword. The next thing is selecting a great company name. Your company name is super important as well. And you'll see here, it's primarily aimed at startups or someone using like a fictitious name or a DBA. We're even seeing existing companies, existing clients even, that are considering getting DBAs just to include some of the things we're about to talk about. One of those things is, if it's possible, name your new company using a research keyword or location. So you can see here, Tampa SEO Training Academy. Tampa is the location. SEO training is a keyword phrase, but so is Tampa SEO, Tampa SEO training. Those are all keyword variations that people look for in relation to what I do, which is why I named the business that. How about the Florida Dog Training School of Tampa, right? Florida is a location, as is Tampa. Dog training is what they do, right? They do it in Florida, do it in Tampa. Or even my New York Jets fan club of Tampa Bay. Yeah, I'm a Jets fan. Yeah, it sucks for me. Hopefully we'll praying again this year like we do every year. But when I moved down here from the New York metro area, I gave up my season tickets, moved down here. And one afternoon, after a couple of green martinis, I wound up starting a Jets fan club. That was 21 years ago now. We've got over 2,500 members in the group, and we have the Jets coming into town this year, so having a big party. It should be fun. But we're using Jets fan club, New York Jets fan club. Those are kind of keywords, and then Tampa Bay in the name of the business. All right, but really important. Don't go changing your long-held company name for a more keyword-friendly name. That's crazy. All right. You don't want to change the name of your business just to do this. If you have a business, an established business, a company name or a brand name, don't change it, because nothing beats a great brand name either. You just got to make sure that you're building it. And Google's really all about the branding these days too. They really want you to build the brand, build who you are, build that trust, that authority that we talked about a little bit earlier. Okay. Something else that you want to be able to do is select a powerful domain name, like your .com, for example, right? And if possible, you want to try to obtain a domain name with your main keyword in it. Now, you do want to keep them short and sweet as well if you can. You do want to see if you can get a keyword in. You can see I've got Steve Scott SEO. I've got the word SEO in the name, in the URL. I've got Tampa SEO Jets fan. Now, you might be asking why the dashes, right? Well, back when I actually originally made these websites, Google wasn't very good at kind of understanding a word that didn't have a dash in it. They couldn't understand it was two words. So Tampa SEO became like Tampa SEO. It's like one word. And by using a dash, it kind of helped them understand it. They're way better now, so no big deal now. I would not recommend using dashes moving forward, honestly. I hate having to explain to people, it's a hyphen, it's a dash, it's a minus sign. It's just ridiculous. If you can get away from doing that, do that. Don't have the dash. But if you can get your keyword into your domain name, much better. Or again, just make it your company name, your brand name. Now, older domains, right? Domains that have been around for a while, they tend to have more value in search than newer domains. Think of it like it's been aged like a fine wine, right? I always say that brand new websites are almost like a newborn. All they know how to do is eat, poop, and sleep, right? And they have to learn to, walk and talk and feed themselves and so on. And so they tend to have an older domain tends to have more value, and they've also been around a little bit longer, so they probably have more people linking to them, and they have more content and so on. So be careful anytime you're considering changing your older domain name to something new. In fact, we just signed a contract with a company that did just this, change an old really long domain name to a short domain name, but didn't do it right, and they lost everything. And we're trying to fix it, help them fix it, and it can be fixed, but you got to get it quickly, otherwise you could lose all of your rankings, all of your history, all of your authority very quickly. And of course, you can have a marketing friendly and a search friendly domain name, right? So for example, we had a client we took on a bunch of years ago, and they had TampaCriminalDefenseLawyer.com. And there was also like criminal defense lawyer in Tampa. It wasn't them, somebody else. Or it was Tampa defense lawyer for criminals. Like, it was all these variations. I could never remember which one it was. And that was the name of the URL. That was the actual home of the website. However, Palmieri Law was the name of the company, and that was the branding that we used on her business cards. It said Palmieri Law on the website. And so we just forwarded one to the other. So she was able to use the shorter, easier to remember version like Palmieri Law on her business cards, on her marketing material, and so on. We just forwarded it over to the other domains. You can do those kinds of things too, for various reasons. I had a website for a dog trainer, was FL-Canine. Well, you might think FL-CANINE. No, it's FL- the letter K is the number 9. So what we did is we actually bought FL-Canine, CANINE, and forwarded it to the proper domain. So you can have multiple domains, but you don't want to have multiple websites. Just you can use one as a forwarding thing for the other. You also want to pick the right web host. You want to select a solid hosting provider, and you're going to get what you pay for, so don't cheap out, or you're going to pay for it in other ways. Some things to consider: well, speed matters a lot, right? Site's got to load really quick or people are going to bail. What kind of space are you going to need? How big of a site are you going to have? Are you going to be loading tons and tons and tons of photos, or are you mostly going to be content with a picture here and there on a page? Where's your server located? Right, we have one client that's here in Tampa Bay area, but they had their servers located in California. Now, there are ways that you can kind of make that work for you, but there's a bit more technical stuff that has to go and get involved. So it's always better to have a hosting account or a hosting server that's close to your users. So know where it's located and who you're serving, right? Are you serving a local audience, a national audience, an international audience, right? Because you have a service here in New York and you're going to do work with, let's say, Australia. Well, that's going to be, kind of harder, right? You have to have a distributed network, and that takes some understanding of hosting and delivery networks and things like that. So here's some hosting options that I particularly like. SiteGround is one of my favorites, my own personal choice. My own personal sites are on SiteGround. I've used them for a long time. I forget which country they're located in, but they've got locations all over, servers all over. Hosting.com, which was formerly A2 Hosting, also really well known and recommended by a lot of different locations, as is Bluehost. WP Engine is a great one for WordPress sites. They've been around for a long time and do a really great job if you're running WordPress sites, are really kind of helping and understanding what WordPress users and owners need. And Kinsta.com, another good one out there. So, avoid the bigger shared hosting solutions. They're cheap. That's why a lot of people go there, but there are problems. Lots of times places like GoDaddy, 101, HostGator, they're cheap, $3 a month maybe, but you have tons, sometimes thousands of other domains on it. Sometimes, if you call for help, they're going to blame your plugins. They're going to blame, something else, your programmer or whatever, and they don't really help fix the problem. And so some of the better hosting options with the higher packages have good hosting, good support. They'll actually help you figure out what's going on, what's wrong, and get it fixed. So I am not a fan of cheap hosting. I mean, let's face it, even the expensive hosting will cost you like $500 to $600 a year to keep your business up and running, to keep it working, to make sure there's regular backups and so on. It is worth $500 to keep your business up and running year round having the support that you need, and having a good server that really understands your needs. Why does this matter? Better hosting tends to have faster service, creates better user experience, and helps with those core web vitals that Google is looking at. HTTPS security issues and secure certificates. That's where you get the security, the little lock screen. Some hosts offer this for free, right? SiteGround, you get a free security certificate, no problem. If you're selling products and services or both, your hosting company can hurt or help you. If you're using shopping carts or e-commerce of some sort, well, is the tool that you're using SEO friendly? Some aren't. Most are, especially if you're using things like Shopify, some of those newer ones that definitely are very search friendly. And if you have a merchant account, some e-commerce hosts tie in better with Google Merchant Center than others do. But here's a pet peeve of mine. No matter what, please create and use email from your name at yourcompany.com. Steve at stevesgotseo.com, right? Some people will get away with a Gmail account, but if you try to send mass email, I had a client who had a Gmail account. They were using it for almost everything and sent out like 500 or 600 emails from their account, and Google shut them down. Okay, don't do that. And it's much better get a branded, company named email address, and you look a lot more professional than you have if you have a Gmail account or an AOL account or a Yahoo account. Please get a real email account. All right. Let's talk about on-site optimization. What can you do on your website to help you get better search placement, right? First thing is when it comes to designing or even redesigning your website, you want to choose your look and feel, right? Your colors, your font selections, your typography. What are your buttons going to look like? What are your tables going to look like? And so on, right? You want to kind of really think about how this is going to look and feel. And you want to brand your website to look like any of your other marketing material if you already have some of that, some of the promotional material you may have out there. A lot of times it's the other way around, right? People build their website first when they're getting a business started, and they let their designer create a look and feel for them based on things they may like, and then they create the marketing material that's based on that look and feel as well. Doesn't matter what you do, but keep it consistent. Pay attention to your user interface. You want to make sure it's easy to navigate and to find your most important information quickly and easily. It should be clear and concise. Make sure it loads fast. That's super important. And you can use a tool like GTmetrix, or you can do a search for Google PageSpeed Insights, and they can give you some idea of how quick or slow your site is and where the bottleneck may be. If you do have a bottleneck in these tools, you're getting like a score that's not an A. You want to do everything you can to fix it, clean it up, make it better, because it's going to help you in the long run. And of course, having a text menu for spiders and mobile users as well, making it easier for them to find things and navigate through your website. But put the focus on how your site looks and behaves on the mobile platform. That is what Google judges you on. How does it look? How fast is it? How does it rank? How does the user like it? What are their engagement rates? How far are they scrolling? All that kind of stuff is all really important, and more so than your desktop. So it's really, really, really important that if you're building a website, that you are looking at that website both on the desktop, but more importantly, looking at it on your mobile device, working on the mobile device, making sure that it is really working perfectly, even more so than the desktop, because that's what Google's going to judge you on. Once you've done your keyword research using one of those tools, well, then where do you put these keywords? Several different places. I'm not covering all of this. We have a whole masterclass on just this stuff in our membership program. But there's places called the title tag. That's the blue clickable link that you see in the Google results. There's the meta description. That's the black text under those clickable links in a Google search result. The meta keyword tag, though, no, don't do it. Don't need it. It's deprecated years and years ago. Nobody uses it. But if you're still using it and you abuse it, you can make things worse for you. I would just avoid using it unless you know what you're doing altogether. It has no value for you. Heading tags, H1 and H2. These are ways to help Google understand the structure of your website. Think about a newspaper or a magazine, right? Every single article in that newspaper or magazine has a heading, a single heading. That's the main heading. That's your H1. That's what that article is about. But within that article, there may be multiple subheadings. Those would be H2s. And if you have subheadings that are within the subheadings, maybe H3s and so on. Link text. These are the words that people click on. That could be your keyword phrase. Your body text, just the words on the page. It'd be helpful to have your keywords in there sometimes. Alt text on your images. Images can be described using alt text, alt tags. These alt text is actually designed for ADA compliance and are necessary for ADA compliance, and basically help describe what the image is about. So, for example, if you were trying to explain to somebody what an image was about over the phone, they couldn't see it, that would be like your alt text for that image. Having text that's bolded or italicized with your keywords, bulleted text on the page. your file names, the URLs, any of your subdirectories, your domain name, your .com, right? And then other links coming into your site from other people's sites, what we call backlinks. Those are all places where you will find keywords often on a website that's ranking well. Sometimes, and generally speaking, ones that are ranking really well, especially in competitive niches, they're in all those places. So every single page of your website has these things that you can place these keywords in and needs to be considered as you're building or redesigning your existing website. A few best practices are these: your title and your meta description. So again, your title is the blue clickable link here. The description is the black text that you see here. Make both of these unique for every page on your site and use them to describe what a user is going to find if they visit that page. So again, this is called a description. Well, describe what's there. Your title tag should be really more keyword rich and offer a reason to kind of come in to the website. You want to keep them short and sweet. About 60 to 65 characters are going to be shown on a Google search in a title tag. That doesn't mean that they can't be longer. They can. Don't be misled. All right. Any reporting tools, if you go over like 60 characters, they're going to say, hey, you have a problem. You have too many long title tags. There is no rule against having long title tags. There's only the fact that the first 60-ish characters are going to show. And when it's too long, you see this little ... So this particular URL, this particular title tag is longer than what can be shown on screen, and so you see the ellipse here. The other ones don't have it, means all the content in theirs is shown. Lots of folks, we've been testing this recently, are using a couple of hundred characters in title tags to try to include things like SKUs or cities or other information or related keywords, and it's working pretty well, honestly. So don't be misled and don't be scared off when your audit tool says, hey, you've got too long a character and your audit scores are lower than that. Now, your description, on the other hand, that's probably good to keep about 160 characters because your description is actually not a ranking factor. So it's not really going to help in your rankings, but it can help in getting people to come into your website, right? So about 160 characters for your description will be displayed. If it's longer than that, like you see here, you're going to get ... You could just doesn't finish, right? Featuring reviews and info on the, and it ends. So this is why it's pretty important to kind of look at your information, see what it looks like both on desktop and mobile. This is obviously a desktop search here on this side here. Be aware of that. And again, and try to include calls to action or a reason why someone should click your link and not on somebody else's, right? Like here, a roundup of the best wedding venues in Jersey City for yours at ... skyline views and so on. Typically, when you see things like this where there's something cut up in the middle, that this, generally speaking, that there isn't a description actually listed, an actual description, but that somebody has, Google has just pulled a piece of content from the page of content. So you can't control what people see when you're doing that. Anyway, include those calls to action where necessary. And again, that meta keyword tag, not a ranking factor, not necessary. I would avoid it because it can't do anything but harm you. All right. Your H1 tag, another thing. This is the heading of the page. You want to have one and only one H1 tag on each page. Again, technically, you can have more than one H1, but when's the last time you saw one article in a magazine have multiple headings? Doesn't happen. So always think one H1 tag, make it catchy, make it engaging, get that user to want to read your content, and consider making that H1 in a question and use the paragraph below it to answer that question. Link text. This is the place where you can click on words in a document on a web page to go somewhere else, whether it be further down on that document, on another page of your website, maybe off to some other website altogether. But the best thing to do is to use internal links wherever it makes sense, right? And the way to do this is just kind of read through your content. And if you see an important word or a key phrase that you know you've got some more detailed information about somewhere else on your website, well, then use those words to link to that page of your website. And sites that have really good internal linking structures, they tend to do much better than those without. So think of it like Wikipedia. You know, you go to Wikipedia and like you're looking at a band, like you're looking at I like Journey. So I'm looking at Journey, and then I see, oh, I hit Neil Schon as a guitarist. And then you go to Neil Schon's page on Wikipedia. And then it shows you that Neil Schon was in Santana. And so you click on Santana. Now you're looking at Santana. And then you see Santana had the band member Greg Rowley. You go to Greg Rowley, you see, well, Greg Rowley was in Journey. And you go back to Journey. But all of those links move you around their website, keep you involved on the site, get people to look at more than one page per visit, and keep them on your site and get a little bit more depth into their visits. So really, really important to have good internal linking. So read through your site, look through your content, wherever you see words or phrases, that there's other content on your site that you know you have, use those words or phrases on that page to link to those other pages, and it's going to really help boost your potential. Your URLs also should have keywords wherever it makes sense. So here is one for Florida beach weddings. When I first started working with these guys a long while ago, they had like, oh my God, they had like 40 websites, right? And at the time, back in the day, that was not a bad idea. But what was happening was Google was getting more value from larger websites that were fully about everything, and their URLs were a mess. What we wound up doing is really breaking it out to like floridabeachweddings.com/West Coast Beaches/Clearwater Beach Weddings. And then it was like West Coast Beaches/ next beach, Destin, and so on. Then you get like, East Coast beaches, and you get into all the beaches on the East Coast and so on. And so they really broke it down so that the URLs had information about location, the type of, what they were doing here, beach weddings, and so on. Much better to do it that way in the long run. Now, if you have a WordPress website, get a WordPress plugin, SEO plugin. Yoast is probably one of the big ones out there. Yoast for Shopify is now available. Yoast is also now working really well with tools like Elementor to help you with getting your SEO just right. Other great ones out there, all-in-one SEO, Rank Math. There's many other highly respected SEO plugins out there. But I recommend highly that you get one if you have a WordPress site, because out of the box, WordPress is not very search friendly. It just doesn't do the things that you might want to do. The thing I love about Yoast a lot is that it can kind of evaluate your page and say where you might be missing things. Hey, you don't have an image. Hey, your image doesn't have alt text. Hey, you don't have a heading with a keyword in it. Hey, you don't have this, you don't have that. Really helpful to have a tool do that for you. I personally use and prefer Yoast SEO. I've used a bunch of the other ones. Nothing wrong with any of them. I've just been with Yoast so long that I kind of know the ins and outs of it. But we inherit lots of sites all the time, and they've got different plugins that we have to work with. So all really good. The ones that I've mentioned, all really good. There's plenty of like Squirrely's, another one that's out there. All really good. All do a lot of the same things. So just pick one that works for you, stick with it, and make sure you use it to its fullest potential. But these tools are a must for optimizing your website. Yoast has a completely free version as well, which I love. It's easy to use. There's paid versions available as well that are not unreasonable at all. And allows you to create unique title tags, unique descriptions, allows you to add your keywords in, and lets you know what other things are going on with them. And even helps you when you're sharing things to social media. It helps you build site maps and all sorts of good stuff that really can help impact your potential for ranking your website. Now, you also want to keep an eye on usability and design, right? You want to create lots of unique original content. We'll have more about that in a minute. You want to write killer headlines. You want to have plenty of white space. You want to deliver your content in easy to swallow bits, not huge paragraphs. Whenever you go to a website and there's like, a 5-6 line paragraph, this big giant paragraph, well, we don't read those anymore, right? We're all want everything yesterday. We want it quickly. And so you want 1 or 2 sentence paragraphs, even though they're not really paragraphs. You need that white space. You need that opening, right? If I had all of this bullet points crammed into one thing running on, with commas, you'd never read it all. But here with bullet points, space in between the bullet points, it's much easier to read, easier to swallow, right? So make sure you're delivering these things in easy to swallow bits, not huge paragraphs. You want to use bulleted lists because our eyes and our brains have been trained to look at bulleted lists in a large document, because they tend to sum up information really quickly about what the most important stuff is there. Don't forget those calls to action, right? Telling people to do something, book now, call us, so on. We'll talk more about that in a few. Create that internal linking strategy we talked about a moment ago. Build links into and out of your site. You don't want to be a dead, an island on yourself. You want to link out to references, maybe to important information from your website. If you're in a particular industry that has maybe like your OSHA, maybe you want to link out to some OSHA guidelines for argument's sake. Make sure you have your contact information easily displayed and found. Use site maps so that Google can find all of the pages of your website, and use what's called structured data to help Google understand your content a bit better as well. Now, I want to give you some more on content, as it truly is king these days, more so than ever. First thing is, when it comes to your content, start with your audience's needs, right? Identify their top questions, their problems, and their goals, and speak directly to them, not about you. So example is, instead of saying, we offer tax services, say, tired of stressing over tax season? We handle it for you, right? So you're kind of going at their pain point, the stress of tax, and you're kind of easing them by saying, hey, we'll get it for you, right? Rather than, we just do this. That's a better way to do it. Write for humans first, SEO second. I always say, the content that you write is like a great steak. SEO and the keywords you add in, that's like your salt, right? You don't go to the restaurant for the salt, you go for the steak. So write a great piece of content. Your content is what people come to visit. It's what they come to read. It's what they come to find and learn and see and read. Your keyword phrases that are in that is just the flavoring. It's just the salt. All right. So make sure you sprinkle some of that salt on the content or throughout the content because you want it to be flavored. You don't want to overdo it, but no salt. It's bland. Too much salt, you kill it. Got to be nice and easy. So use clear, simple language, include keywords naturally. And again, if you're writing real content of real value with true depth and true, who, where, when, why, and how kind of ideas, you're going to have those keywords built automatically into your content. Structure pages with lots of headlines, lots of bullet points, lots of little short paragraphs. Ask yourself, would this make sense to someone scanning it in 5 seconds? And that's what happens, right? You've all done it. You're scrolling down and you're seeing, paragraph after paragraph. Maybe you're reading a headline. Maybe you're reading a couple words or phrases, in the first sentence or two, and you keep skipping over. You want to break it out enough so people are at least skimming pieces of it rather than big blocks of content where they're going to skip over the bigger block that's not, that's below that first sentence or two. You want to create focused service pages. So you want to have one page for each service that you offer. So if you do SEO consulting, SEO training, and SEO agency work, have one for each page, for each service that you do. Do the same thing for any service that you offer, right? Answer on that page what it is, who it's for, why it helps, how to get started with you, and bonuses for adding FAQs about that service, price ranges maybe, results, before and afters, and all that can help boost clarity. It includes strong calls to action, right? Every single page should tell a visitor to do something next. Book a free call, download our pricing guide, get a free quote, and so on. And place those call to actions at the top, in the middle, and at the end of each key page, right? Sometimes people haven't made a decision yet. You don't want to have them have to scroll back up or scroll all the way down to get to that call to action. Make that call to action easy to find, make it stand out, right? And make it say something to get them to do something. Always going to be really important on those pages. Show proof, right? Use things like reviews, testimonials, case studies, certifications, stats, right? An example might be, since working with us, how to grow our online sales 43% in 3 months. People love that kind of stuff. Add photos or videos of real customers whenever possible, of course, with their approval. Use your About Us page to build trust. Share your story, your values, your mission. Add a photo of you maybe or video to humanize you or your brand. And end the page with a call to connect and not just a bio, right? Keep your blog helpful, not just promotional. Answer common questions in your blog, explain your process, share quick tips, but write for the beginners if you're in a complex field. So an example might be 5 things to ask before hiring a roofer. So if you're a roofer, having those 5 things that people can understand to ask you is super helpful. And what's the difference between a will and a trust, right? That's also kind of have an article about that if you're in that part of the business. Make your site easy to navigate, clear menus, logical categories, cut down on clutter. Nobody wants to feel lost. Don't have too much stuff. And as a rule of thumb, you want 3 clicks or fewer to reach any key page. So that may be, a lot of us have our home page, and that's sort of like our table of contents, right? We kind of guide people to the other pages of our website within the home page. And of course, you have your menu at the top to help them break down and find what they're looking for. Again, keep it short and sweet and make it easy for people to find and understand what they're going after. Focus on speed, mobile, and clarity, right? Your content's useless if your site is slow or broken on phones. People are going to bail and they're never going to see it. Test it often on mobile devices first, then on desktop. And of course, try to capture leads. Offer something valuable in exchange for an email and a phone number and or, their name itself. A free guide of some sort, a checklist, a webinar, a discount code. And of course, there are pop-ups or exit intent forms or sticky bars. Use them without being annoying, right? Sticky bars might be at the top that say, fill out this to get to our newsletter. They just stay there. Or as people go to exit, a pop-up might show up and say, hey, before you go, do this, or would you do that, or so on. These are the kind of things that we're doing. We're not trying to be annoying. We don't want them popping up every 5 seconds, but maybe on the first time out, pop those things up, trying to get those leads. That's why you're there. Now, the big thing that's changed these days is answer engine optimization, right? With the advent of things like ChatGPT, answer engine optimization is basically the process of optimizing your content on your website so that those AI-powered tools and engines like Google's AI overviews, Bing's Copilot, and or ChatGPT can pull your content and use it to answer users' questions directly. We're beginning to see the ChatGPTs of the world sending traffic to our website through tools like Google Analytics. So you want to get on this right away. And instead of focusing only on ranking in traditional search results, the answer engine optimization focuses on being the source of the answers that users see without needing to click. I'm sure you all tried ChatGPT or Google's Gemini or one of the other ones out there, and you're talking to it almost like a friend sometimes. You're asking questions, you're interacting with it, it's responding, it's even asking you if you want more information or if you want checklists. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's freaking amazing, right? It's mind-boggling to some extent, a little scary also to some, right? But it's just another tool in the tool belt. But what you want to do is you want to make sure that your content can be found or get seen in those answers if someone's looking for, where can I find a great roofer in my area? And you want your stuff to show up there. So instead of focusing only on ranking, which is traditional in search results, now we're focusing on being the source of those answers. So why does it matter? Well, more people are getting answers directly from AI tools every day. It's building. We're getting more familiar with it. We're getting more comfortable with it. We're using it more and more often. There's fewer clicks going to websites, and I'm seeing this across the board. More and more folks are getting information from answer engines, ChatGPTs, Gemini, and so on down the line. And fewer people are going directly to websites. And we're seeing this in the analytics. We're seeing people are, some clients are like, why aren't we getting as many clicks as we used to get? Like, oh, there's different ways people are getting answers now. But brands that show up in these answers will build trust and visibility even without getting the visit, right? Their name gets seen. They get some potential to get a visit as well. People can still click on those links, but here's some key AEO strategies. One, write content that directly answers questions. That's always going to be a big thing. So look for your questions on screen, try to find them. Use clear formatting, short answers, bullet points, headings, all have value. Adding FAQs, summaries, definitions to your pieces of content all have value. Show firsthand experience and real expertise. Use that schema markup we mentioned earlier to help search engines read your content. I'm not going to get into schema markup. That is a whole other class. We do have some information on it in our membership program, but it's basically a language that Google and some of the other engines have created that help them understand better your content. And it is really getting more and more important and can really have a big impact on AEO. So definitely look up and learn more about schema markup or structured data, as it's sometimes called. But think of it this way. If a potential customer asks an AI tool about your service, would your site content be what gets shown, or someone else is going to get shown? If not, doing AEO is how you fix that. So what are those tips? Answer questions clearly, right? Start pages with direct answers, like use headings like what is or how does, and then add short summaries or the TLDR section. For those that don't know, too long, didn't read. That happens a lot. People go, oh my God, it's too long, I'm not going to read it. So having short summaries before all the depth and the length of the content is really helpful these days. Use simple structured content, short paragraphs, bullet points, numbered lists, FAQs on every key page. Don't just have one FAQ page anymore. Have FAQs about each topic, each service, each product on each of your key pages. Show your brand name in the answers to those questions, right? Mention your business in the response that you're putting in the text, because that may show up in the answer engine and people can see your brand name in there, right? Add personal insights, client examples, and other results. But own your niche. Create content around specific questions that your audience asks, and then cover related topics deeply so AI sees you as a trusted source. So it's a lot of content, a lot of effort goes into this, folks. There's that schema markup again. And you definitely want to use structured data for your FAQs, for your reviews, for your how-tos, for any videos you might be placing on there, for your local, for your business. They're all specialized markups, structured data that can help AI and Google read your content, understand what it's about better. And of course, it'll help you capture leads even without clicks, because by offering checklists, guides, tools in exchange for emails, you can use call to actions like get the full breakdown in your inbox. But get those leads into your site wherever possible. That's a lot. We ain't done yet, though. Like I said, we're going to go along. I know it. Sorry. can't stick around, I get it, no problem. Come on back, check out the copy after. But we're going to move on now. Offsite optimization. This is all about getting the word out, right? Link building is a key component to ranking well in the search engines. I always say link building is like getting a lot of people to refer you to their friends and family, right? A lot of folks, when you get a referral, someone calls you because a friend of theirs gave them your name, right? Usually you're pretty close to a done deal. You're a lot closer to a done deal than if it was a cold call or someone just found you online somewhere. And so if you have a lot of people mentioning you to lots of their friends and family, for argument's sake, that's going to be really good business for you. Well, links are like referrals are in the real world, right? Depending on how well you trust the person that gave you the referral, the more likely you are to call that person that they referred you to. If it's some stranger that's giving you the name of somebody to call, unlikely you're going to call them unless you have some other kind of association with that person they gave you. But quality links are what you're looking for. And quality links build your link popularity and your link reputation. They can also help drive traffic to your site, just like a quality referral can drive phone calls or walk-ins to your business. Quality links pay for themselves in a reputation, and it's the quality links that help build that authority and trustworthiness that EEAT that we talked about earlier is so valuable and so important. When you're building links, you want to consider what's called topic drift in your links. Topic drift are different ways people kind of say the ame thing. So if you have maybe you got a puppy and you're having some problems, right? You might be looking for a dog trainer. You might go to Google looking for dog training near me. You might look for dog obedience. You might look for behavior modification. You might look for puppy kindergarten. In essence, it's all the same thing, right? It means I've got a dog, I'm having a problem, I need some help. And these are different ways people look for it. So we tend to call this topic drift. It's the same thing, but just slightly different ways of saying it. When you're writing your content, you want to allow for topic drift in your content as well as in your links. So as you're acquiring links or getting links, whether it be internal or external, use variations of the phrases that you're getting linked from. And you want to go after high quality links from authoritative sites. These are sites that are already kind of doing well. So here, for example, I'm in the wedding industry, right? You have a place like The Knot. The Knot has what's called a domain authority of 89. We'll talk more about domain authority in a moment. Wedding Wire is also well known, but they have a domain authority of 74. Wedding-Spot has a domain authority of 55. And New Jersey Bride has a domain authority of 46. Well, out of these things, the higher domain authority typically means more authoritative, more potential for that site to rank over its competitors, depending on how high that ranking is. Let's talk a bit more about that. What is domain authority, right? Well, domain authority is created by Moz, right? Moz defines domain authority as a search engine ranking score that predicts how likely a website is to rank in search engine results pages. That score goes from 1 to 100, and a higher score means a greater ranking potential. Their domain authority is based on dozens of factors, but primarily it's the number of linking domains to your websites, the number of backlinks in total to your site, and the quality and relevance of those people linking to you. So again, think about the number of people that refer to you, that mention you in a referral, the quality of those people that are linking to you and who they're talking to, and so on. But it's a relative metric, right? It's not the same across the board. So the DA is best used to compare sites of the same type, not as an absolute measurement. So if your site has a domain authority of 40 and your competitor in your area or in your business has a domain authority of 60, well, they're more likely to be able to rank or going to rank higher than you because they more than likely have more links, more authority, more relevance than you do. Domain authority is updated regularly by Moz using their machine learning that helps them recalculate as new data is acquired. But here is the most important thing to understand. Domain authority data has got absolutely nothing to do with Google. It is not a Google ranking factor. Google has no bearing on it. They don't look at it. They don't care about it. It has nothing to do with Google. It does have zero impact on your ranking. However, and it is a Moz-specific metric, all right? It helps you estimate the ranking potential, ranking strength of a domain. Now, look, if you have a domain and you have a domain authority of 2 and your competitors have domain authorities of 45 or more, well, you have a lot of work to do, right? That's why we want to do competitive intelligence and competitive research to see what are those people doing? How are they doing it? What are they doing? Are they blogging? Are they doing social media and so on? What's happening there? And the way to kind of figure this out is you go to the Chrome extension store and you go get the Mozbar Chrome extension, okay? I've had it forever. They've changed it a bunch recently. The new version looks like this. There's actually a little thing in your toolbar in Chrome. This can show you what the domain authority is of the page. 46. You have options here and whether you want how to enable it or not. This is what the bar looks like. You can dock it to the top or bottom of the page, and it shows you what the domain authority is as a whole, what the page authority is, the number of domains, and so on. And you can at least get a better sense of how many links they have. So look, they have 42.8 thousand links. Well, if you're just getting started, you're not going to be able to compete with someone that's 77.5 thousand domains that link to them for a total of 42,000 links in a whole. That's a lot of stuff going on there. And it really says to you, hey, I'm going to have a lot of work out ahead of me to beat somebody like this, okay? But it's a great tool. Go get it, check it out, at least to give you some comparative ideas. Now, what types of links do you want to get from these other websites out there? Well, you want to make sure that any links that you're building link to you using the link text that you choose. Why is that important? Well, link text is like your link reputation. And you want to vary your link text, right? In other words, you want to allow for the topic drift. Dog trainer, dog training, behavior modification. That might be the text, and it just mixes it up a little bit. So what kinds of links do you want to get? Well, one of the types of links are brand name anchor text. Not just your company name, Steve Scott SEO, New York Jets fan club of Tampa Bay, whoever else, Moz. That's the brand name of the business, and people use their name to link to the site. Maybe we have what are called naked URLs. That's where you actually see the URL on the page, and when you click on it, you're going to go to that URL. Universal anchors are those click here, view website, more, read more. And you'll find those on a lot of different sites, or when someone says, hey, if you want to check out this website, click here. And they use click here to link to you. And Google expects these kinds of links to your website. And then you have hybrid branded anchors. These have a keyword phrase like SEO services and consulting from Steve Scott SEO. So I've got my actual brand name in there and SEO services as a keyword. Image links are another type of link that you might want to get. This might be from your logo, maybe a picture of you of a headshot, products, other things like that. Those could link off to your website. And you have your exact keyword phrases. This is like, hey, I want to get found for SEO consulting. So if someone can link to me using the keyword SEO consulting, that would be an exact keyword phrase. We often call them money words, right? It's the words that kind of you want to get found for because that's what people are looking for. And if they look for you and they find you, it may mean money in your pocket. So we call them a money word. And then you have site-wide links. These typically are links that appear at the bottom of every page of a site, typically in the footer. We don't want to have site-wide links on too many sites. It can get really overwhelming, especially if a site's got thousands and thousands of pages and you have one domain pointing at you, but every page in that domain has a link to you. Not the best way to go. It's okay for internal links like your footer, that kind of thing is fine, but you don't want to have a lot of site-wide links on your site. Now, the next question is, well, now that I know the kinds of links, well, how many links of each type should I have? I'm going to just give you this list here. I want you to understand this is just a starting point. The actual numbers for you, your keyword, and your industry are going to vary greatly by the competition level, right? So this is a good starting point if you don't know or not sure. About a third of the links that you're getting to your website from other sites pointing at you should be brand name, naked URLs, hybrids, or some variation of that, right? A variation might be, somebody uses the ink in your brand name, somebody doesn't. Somebody uses your initials or something, or a shortened version of your name. Someone doesn't. Naked URLs, maybe it's got the slash at the end, maybe it doesn't. Maybe someone put the www, maybe someone didn't, right? Those would be variations. A third of those images, so a third of those links should be images or universal anchors, right? So maybe it's the logo, product, pictures of you, or the universals, the click here, the more, the next, view website. Those would be universal. So again, if you have 99 people linking to you, about 33 of them should be the brand name, naked URLs, and so on. Another 33 should be the image or universal anchors. And the last third should be those exact keyword phrases, those money words. But here's the caveat here. You don't want more than about 2% of links for any single money word. Remember our dog training listing? You would, if you have 100 links, 99 for argument's sake, 2 would link using dog training, 2 dog trainer, 2 behavior modification, 2 obedience training, whatever. That's what you're talking about here. You don't want to go over that number because then it can look very manipulative. Because how on earth are other people around the web going to know what money words you want and get linked to? Most people are not going to do that. And if you have too many of those money words, it can look unnatural and you can actually get penalized through a part of the Google algorithm. It used to be known as Penguin. So be careful of using too many of the same money words. What kind of links did you acquire? Well, there's directories, both local or geocentric, topical, vertical in the market, local search listings, social media sites. We're going to get more into this in a minute. One-way links that are backlinks to your site. Reciprocal links, that's where you link to someone, they link to you, only where it makes sense. Press releases also. These are all pretty good types of links to acquire these days. The ones you want to avoid are paid links. I don't mean paid advertising, I mean where you pay somebody to have a link on their website to yours. Links from problem sites. These are sometimes called bad neighborhoods. If you're using tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs, they may call them toxic links or toxic domains. Article directories, these are sites that are just designed for links and nothing else, have no real value other than that. Or run of site links. This is where, like, again, the link is on every single page of the site. Remember, when you're really out there acquiring links, you want to use your company name, your URL, your logo, or generic words like click here, view site more often than the money words to make it look natural. Because, like I said, if someone actually used your business, like what they did, maybe they have a blog and they're writing about you, they're going to link to you by using their company name, URL, maybe the person they dealt with, or they're going to say click here. They're not going to know what money words you want to get ranked for and use that as the link. So it looks unnatural if you're using money words more often than the other stuff. So be aware. What are tools out there that you can kind of use for links, understand links? Well, Google Search Console can help you see who's linking to you. Bing Webmaster Tools can as well, as can the Mozbar. Paid tools out there are Majestic, which is my absolute favorite. I use it all the time. SEMrush is out there as well. Ahrefs also is very good. In fact, SEMrush can import information from Majestic to even make it even more impressive and better. Ubersuggest, Moz Link Explorer, these are all tools out there you have to pay for, but they can really help you, with everything. And that SEMrush, Ahrefs, and even Ubersuggest, they are all like all-in-one type tools, right? Where you get audits and keyword research and rank tracking and social media stuff and tons of other things as well, all in one big tool. It's kind of like buying a tool belt as a contractor and having everything in the tool belt that you need to get started. That's what I like about these all-in-ones. They're expensive, but they're probably cheaper than buying each individual tool one by one, right? But they're out there. Now, what about optimizing your site for a local area? Hugely important. Who needs local SEO? Well, local SEO is extremely important for any business that serves a particular locale. It's 100% necessary if you have a physical storefront or you go to customers or clients' locations to provide your products and services. So examples might be things like local restaurants, hotels, dentists, hardware stores, plumbers, repair shops, etc. For these kind and other types of businesses, creating and implementing a local SEO strategy is critical for more sales. I have some information coming up about, we talked about earlier, about our GBP local listing. We have a masterclass that's going to go into all of this. So come check it out. Customers searching for local business solutions in many different ways, right? They might say paper sealing. Might say paper sealing near me. They might say paper sealing Apollo Beach. They might say paper sealing in Apollo Beach. Paper sealing Apollo Beach, Florida. Paper sealing in Apollo Beach, Florida, right? All of these are ways, and even zip codes, although we don't see as many zip code searches as we used to back in the day before local really took over. But people look for what you're doing in different ways, and you want to make sure that you're getting found for any of those. So in order to help increase your site's visibility in the local metropolitan or regional market, you can add specific geographic information to your website's content and its various elements, right? With the intention to increase business at a brick and mortar location or for a locally offered service like a plumber, garage door opener, repair, things to that nature, right? So here's a little bit of the anatomy of a search result. We've got three things that we see a lot locally. First thing at the top of the page are, you see this little Google verified, you can see Google guaranteed. These are called local service ads. It is sometimes called an LSA. People sometimes call them Google guaranteed. These are a form of paid ads from Google Ads, but you pay per lead in the form of a call or a message as opposed to per click, okay? So they're more expensive, but you see the only options are message or get phone number. So they'll call you or leave you a text message. And notice where they show up, at the top of the screen, above anything else they show. Super important if you're doing that. Then we've got, in this case here, we have the local results pack here, right? We've got the business here. We've got 3 locations here. This is one of our clients. We've got a little map pack in here. You've seen these before, I'm sure, a million times. Probably read some of these reviews from different people. And then down here, you've got your organic results. But these are heavily biased towards geographically relevant businesses, right? So if you're looking for roofers in Tampa, right, you're going to get roofers here that serve Tampa. These are going to be Tampa roofers here. And a lot of these links down here are going to be about Tampa. Even though GAF is a huge business, a huge company, they're actually showing you the Tampa page is showing up for them. So, and then your Better Business Bureau in Tampa is also there. So lots of things happening in that one. And you also are going to get, you may have noticed this newer layout on the desktop searches. It's not too new, but it's a little bit newer than it used to be. They're always experimenting and changing the way this looks and feels. And what's been interesting for me is this looks a lot like it did in the very early days of local. The only difference was we had the map on the left and the items on the right. Now it's a little different, but very similar to what it used to look like. For a while, they had the map at the top, like a big top here, and then they had it underneath it. I knew they were going to get rid of it soon enough because it was taking up too much desk space, too much eye space. And then you have your, in this case here, this is my client here for pressure washing Apollo Beach. They have a local listing and they're showing up in the organic listings as well. So always good to be in both places all at once. Now, a recent study by Sterling Sky suggests that you should put your physical address in the footer of your website. All right, absolutely a must on your contact us page, but you want to make sure that every page has your address on it, especially if you have like a single location. If you have multiple locations, add all 3 locations, 4 locations, whatever it may be. Now, don't get me wrong, if you have like 50 locations, you don't want to do that. You put a primary location. But if you're a local business, you have a couple locations or just the one, make sure you're including your full address on your home, in your footer, and include what's called locally aware structured data on your web page. And I've got a link there to a site you can go to. Include your local phone number with the area code on every page of your site as well. If you rely on calls as your lead source, it's a really good idea to put your phone number in a large size at the top of the page. Make it easy for people to find it, easy to call you, make them click the call. Way to go. And make sure that you use your official address and phone number consistently wherever you list your business. And don't forget the zip codes, as it creates a geographical relevance that the search engines understand. Super important, okay? Don't stuff page. Okay, let me back up. If you have a single location, but you have multiple service areas, right? So you are your business here in Tampa. You have one location, but you serve Apollo Beach, St. Pete, Clearwater, and so on. Well, you don't want to stuff the locations into your titles and descriptions with multiple cities or zips, right? So you would not want to do paper ceiling, Tampa, Apollo Beach, St. Pete, Riverview, Brennan. You don't want to do that. Instead, you want to try to improve your click-through rates while mixing in broad and local keyword variations to help describe what the page is about. And you also don't want to create duplicate or near duplicate content. A lot of times people will do is they'll take, they have a city page for Apollo Beach. Then they'll duplicate the same exact page, but now they'll swap out Apollo Beach for St. Pete, or they'll swap out St. Pete for Riverview, then they'll swap out Riverview for Brandon. And they'll make multiple pages, all the exact same content, but they just swapped out one city name for the next. Now, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. Google's recent updates can sometimes crush you if you're doing that. If you are, now, I recommend having pages for each location, but have unique content on those pages. You want to write unique content focused on each location, maybe information about the location, maybe information about, you know, the type of things that you do in that location, and so on. Very important if you have multiple service areas. You can create multiple pages for each location you serve, but don't hide links to them in the footer or elsewhere. Have a service area menu item, and in that area, each area you serve should have unique content. It can even include an embedded map where it makes sense. And a couple, like here, for example, this is a client of mine, Premier Pro Wash and Seal. They have, sorry, bad link there. I got to go to, let's say, Apollo Beach, right? So I'm in the Apollo Beach page now. As I scroll down, I've got information about Apollo Beach, and I've got all these other locations as well, as far as Riverview and Ellington, and and so on. If I scroll down further, I can see other locations down here, right? So I can go to Tampa, and then here's like at the Tampa location, and it's got information about Tampa as well. So there's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. Anyway, let's go next one. Now, if you have multiple physical locations, right? You have 2 or more physical locations, and you want to develop one page for each location you service with the name, address, phone number, and the directions to that location, and lots of other useful content about each location. You want to include an embedded map from a Google map on the page. You want to be consistent in your URL structure, right? If you have multiple locations in a city, break down by neighborhood. So you might have like, yoursite.com, location, state, city, or maybe location, state, city, neighborhood. Original Hooters is a company I worked with a while back. I actually helped them to build this out. And if you look here, Like you'll see here's like Wesley Chapel. Right? If I go to store details, the URL is now locations, Tampa Bay, Wesley Chapel, right? And underneath it says the Wesley Chapel, coming summer 2025. Some information here where they're going to be located. So it isn't even out there yet, but it's coming soon. If I go back and go to, let's say, North Tampa, now we're going to be in locations, Tampa Bay, North Tampa. The picture of the actual North Tampa location, the Google embedded map, some order pickup, hours operation, things that they're doing, some highlights, and location highlights, location info, right? Talking about where they're near and where they're close to. This is a perfect kind of location page, okay? And then for each location page, you would also have an associated Google business profile, right? So if I said like Hooters near me, here's Odessa, Tampa, Port Richey, right? If I go click on the website for Odessa, there's the Odessa location, right? And it's got information about Odessa, where it's located, information here, location info like near the Suncoast, Pasco County, short drive away from, so on down the line. So it links directly to their page. And so do these. If I go to this website here for Hooters, it's going to go to the Port Richey location with its picture, what it looks like, and its times and its information here, okay? So it's really important that you do the same thing for your own site if you have multiple locations. And the way to embed a Google Map, I just included that here. You go to a place that you want to find. You click on the hamburger menu here. It drops down a menu where you'll see Share or Embed a Map. Click on that. Opens up this window. You hit the Embed a Map area here, and you can pick a small map, a medium, a larger, or even a custom size. If you're trying to fit it into a certain size, you can say custom size. You can type in 150 pixels by 200 pixels. You can zoom in or zoom out. What I like about this, as well, is that it actually can show the brand that you've got here, right? Your company name and your location. Much, much better to do that than have just the address. So you can, could say whatever your business is. And then you just copy the link it gives you and paste it in where you want it, and it embeds it right there. You also, when it comes to local listings, not just Google Business Profiles, lots of other places too. In fact, local SEO is really, really involved, okay? There are all sorts of different pieces of the puzzle. This is an older little infrastructure here for local SEO. It's not current anymore, but I always loved how this worked. Like if I was to highlight, let's say, Google, right? Click on the core search engines, right? You see how all these things interact, some going from, some going to. If I go to Yelp, right? Key sites in the ecosystem, kind of like, okay, go into Yelp. Some are coming to Yelp, Yelp's feeding out others. So it's just very, very complex. And what happens is if you get into one of these, especially these data providers, you'll wind up getting into many of these other sites as well, because they all kind of feed one another, as you see. So I always like looking at this. It's kind of a cool look, but there's lots of places to get your business listed, right? You have what are called data aggregators, not aggravators, or data providers, search engine local listings, internet yellow pages, review sites, niche directories, locally focused directories, and so on. Some of these are combinations of more than one of them, and there's a great list here to review that is the top citation sources of the top 50. And I love this one. It's got all the top 50 for the US, the UK, and so on. You've got different locations throughout the world. You even have types of industry, right? So if you're a chiropractor, you go to the chiropractors listing here, and they'll take you to the top business listing sites for chiropractors. And again, they sort it by domain authority. And so you can go ahead and try to get some of your locations. These are going to be across the world. If you're only US based, you'd probably only go to the US ones. Okay, let's go back here and let's break it down a bit more, right? So the top data aggregators are Data Axiom, Foursquare, and Eurostar Locally. Foursquare, yeah, you might be familiar with them as a place you used to go check in and stuff and so on. But they are basically they took over. Oh gosh, I forget who it was. But they're more now providing data to others as well. Those are the 4 big ones here. Your search local listings are going to be your Google Business Profile, Bing local listings, and Yahoo, right? They're also out there. Your top internet yellow pages, these are the guys here. You can go to these sites. You can see if you're listed already. If you are, you can claim it. If you're not, you can go ahead here and you can go claim or create a new listing at them. Here's your top review sites, right? A lot of them are the same. We saw Google Business Profile, Facebook, Yelp, Better Business Bureau, City Search. Niche industries. Each industry typically has some niche: wedding wire, the knot, my wedding, and so on. Um, each of these places you can go to, you can get a listing to your business listed out there. It can help build your authority. You got local search as well, right? Be sure that your business is listed in all the places mentioned previously. Be sure you claim and verify your listing. Because like I said, because of all the way the aggregators work and how they all talk to one another, even if you haven't actually asked to be in the asked to get into a particular directory, you are possibly going to be in there. So it's always a good idea when you go to a site, whether or not you know you did anything there or not, search for yourself, see if you're there, because sometimes they copy information from one another, and you may already be listed somewhere even though you haven't claimed and verified that you're the owner. But you do want to try and do that, claim and verify that you're the owner of each listing, so you can control the narrative there. Make sure your phone numbers are correct, your address is correct, make sure you put some bio or other things, fill out the profile as completely as possible, and try to keep your name, your address, and your phone number and your URL as consistent as possible. As name just phone number, we call it a NAP. Now, it's not nearly as critical if that's the case, if they're all consistent, as it used to be, but it's still a pretty good practice to keep in mind. And even if you don't purposefully add your business to these sites, they may still be listed. So take control of those listings so you can update them, add to them, respond to any reviews that might be there. Social media, also things you got to be considering, right? And there's a lot of social media sites out there, right? The top tier ones, your Facebook, X, LinkedIn, Instagram, and so on the left. On the right, there's a few others still kicking around. Maybe you remember PhotoBucket, Flickr, Dig, Blogger, and yes, MySpace is still around. If you had a MySpace account back in the day, it's probably still up there. You can't do a whole lot with it. Nobody goes there anymore, but it's just kind of fun for nostalgia's sake. Now, social media is huge. There's no getting around it. Facebook has 1 trillion page views per month, 1 out of every 5 of all page views, basically. 3.404 billion monthly active users worldwide, 31 minutes spent per day by each user. That's a lot of time. 19.7 hours of monthly usage per user on mobile devices. So that's a lot of time spent on Facebook. X, over 1.3 billion registered accounts, 300 million daily active users. Only about 34 million users tweet more than once a day. 1.5 million accounts added every day, and about 500 million tweets per day. That's 5,800 tweets per second. It's a lot of tweeting going on out there. Do they still call it tweeting? I don't even remember. Is it still tweeting now that it's X? I don't know. Of course, Instagram has really become huge over the last few years. Over 2.4 billion monthly active users. Over 500 million users open Instagram daily. 500 million people use stories daily, which is the top feature for engagement. So you should be using stories for your own business. And Instagram Reels generate over 200 billion plays per day. And Reels now dominate user attention, especially if you're under the age of 35. Whereas 70% of shoppers look to Instagram for their next purchase, the average user spends 33 minutes per day on the app. So if you're an Instagram and Facebook user, you got an hour tied into Instagram and Facebook, basically, a day. It's a lot of potential to get found, right? TikTok, the other big one, right? That's boomed. Over 1.8 billion monthly active users. US has over 150 million active users. Users spend an average of 55 minutes per day on TikTok. That's crazy, higher than Instagram, YouTube Shorts, or Facebook. And sessions are highly engaging and addictive in some instances, right? There's over 1 billion videos watched daily on TikTok. And what's interesting is 62% of users make purchases after seeing a product on TikTok. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know that until I did some more of the research the last few days. So that's, again, makes me go, we got to get more. And it's especially strong among Gen Z and millennials. So if that is your target market, you need to be on TikTok, because also 41% of users say TikTok is their main search engine now. So my goodness, TikTok has just blossomed and bloomed over the last several years, and it's really having an impact, all right? YouTube also, no joke, man. YouTube's got 2.7 to about 2.8 billion monthly active users, which is the world's largest active user base. It is the second most visited website globally, right after Google, and there's 1 billion hours watched daily, or roughly 5 billion videos viewed daily. SEMrush reports 42.8 billion visits in April 2023, which is about 23 minutes per session, 8.4 pages per visit. But video streaming makes up 65% of internet traffic, and YouTube dominates that segment of the industry. And I love this stat. It's funny. Over 500 hours of video are uploaded per minute. That's more than 720,000 hours per day. If you were to break that out into a 2-hour feature-length Hollywood movie, That would be there's over 2.5 million full-length films uploaded every week on YouTube. That is insane. Okay. And last we have LinkedIn. LinkedIn's got 1.1 billion members worldwide, about 230 million in the US. 61 million users are senior level decision makers. And content gets 9 billion impressions weekly. Big one here though, 97% of recruiters and 85% of US companies use LinkedIn for hiring. Looking for a job, get on LinkedIn. Trying to sell business to business, get on LinkedIn. It's not used as much as others are, but has a hell of a lot of value there as well. Okay. When it comes to harnessing the power of social media marketing, you got to know your audience, right? Who you're talking to, their age, their interests, their location, their problems. Focus on 1 to 2 core personas per platform. Ask yourself, would my ideal customer care about this post? If they would, post it. If not, maybe it's not the right post to put out there. Pick the right platforms. Don't try to be everywhere. Match your content and audience to the platform. B2B, definitely got to be on LinkedIn. Visual, Instagram, maybe Pinterest, Gen Z, millennials, TikTok for sure. Communities or niche groups, Reddit, Facebook groups as well. Stay consistent. Use the same profile image, buy one brand voice throughout. Post regularly, about 3 times a week is your minimum. Show up even when you're not selling, right? Give information, other stuff as well. Use a content calendar so you're not scrambling last minute. We tend to plan for our own business and for clients about a month in advance. And of course, there's obviously going to be times we have to jump in and change things out, but about a month in advance. Mix your content types, right? You want to balance between valuable posts like how-to tips, advice, and resources, credibility posts, testimonials, case studies, awards you may have won, behind the scenes, photos, team members, processes, and your offers, right? Your promotions, your events, your lead mags you're giving away. The rule of thumb is 4 value posts for every 1 sales pitch. Okay, it's a good kind of rule of thumb there. Engage like a human, right? Reply to comments and messages fast. Use things like polls and questions and open-ended posts to invite responses to what you're putting out there. Comment on others' content in your web space and ask yourself, am I starting a conversation or just broadcasting? Use clear calls to action as well. Tell people what you want to do next, like DM me for more info. Click the link to register. Comment yes if you want the checklist. Don't make people guess your next step. Leverage the stories and videos in different platforms out there, right? Video builds trust faster than text. Stories and reels can be used for fast, engaging content. Short clips should be shared of tips and FAQs and customer wins or even some behind the scenes stuff. Example might be a 30-second did you know tip that can, or video that can build authority fast. And then track what works, right? Use your insights analytics to see your top performing posts. Look for any patterns, time, format, topic that are working best. Try to replicate those things over and over again and double down on what gets engagement or clicks, right? If you're seeing things getting a lot of engagement, a lot of clicks, do more of that. Redo it. Share it up a little bit. Drive viewers to your owned assets, right? Social is rented land. Move people off to your email list, to your website, to your booking or sales page. Use lead magnets to make it easy, like a free PDF or a webinar, give them a quiz or something in order to get their name or email or get them into your list. Be patient, be authentic. Social media is a long game. You're not going to jump in and be number 1 overnight. Real stories, not stock content. Show up regularly, even if the results feel slow, and they will at first. And then, of course, start a blog, right? Share tips, how-to, other valuable information your readers are going to find useful on your website. Share those out to social media. Post regularly to your own website. At least once a week is a good rule of thumb. Keep up with other blogs in your industry, making sure to participate by leaving comments, which can also in turn get you some links from high-value sites. And link your blog to other sites that you liked or found valuable, and link your blog back to your own website, of course. And of course, I encourage you guys to please connect with me as well, both Steve Scott SEO and my Tampa SEO. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, X, and YouTube. On all of them, I've got a few others out there as well, too. I've got an old MySpace account somewhere, too, but not sharing that. But you can find me on all those platforms. Please do like me, follow me, and be sure to hit me up there. Pay-per-click sponsor listing is another thing you've got to know how to do, right? Pay-per-click is a great way to get a new site started, to test new ideas or keywords, and to fill gaps in your SEO. Places where you're not ranking well, you can maybe use pay-per-click to fill some of those gaps. However, here's the big however, you must know how to set these things up right and how to set your campaigns up right, because if you don't, you're going to burn through money faster than you can blink and have nothing to show for it but an empty wallet. So please know what you're doing here. If you don't know what you're doing, hire somebody to do the job correctly. You have the main players in pay-per-click are Google Ads, right? That's the big one. Meta for Instagram and Facebook. And what's the other one? Threads, right? I forgot to include them earlier. Microsoft Advertising, right? Microsoft also has their own version, and LinkedIn. dominates B2B advertising. So think about advertising there if you're trying to get into the B2B space. There's some other paid advertising options as well. Talked about YouTube. That's coming in from Google, actually. LinkedIn, mentioned it earlier. TikTok has got a high adoption tier. Gen Z and short form storytelling is best use cases there. Pinterest for lifestyle, seasonal trends, anything kind of visual. Amazon ads, if you're going to be in e-commerce, you got to be on Amazon as well. Snapchat, Reddit for niche targeting and so on. Even Quora, Spotify are also ways in which you can pay to get out there, to get found, and so on. So they're out there. From Google, though, right? If you go to Google and use their Google Ads, you've got their search network, so you can show up in Google and any of their partner sites that use Google as their search provider. YouTube ads, right? You can have your video ads showing before, during, after videos. We've all been, had this hit the skip here button. We all wind up, seeing an ad as we're watching a video we're trying to enjoy. Sometimes they work, man. I mean, they do. I've clicked on things and I've, gotten a PDF or joined a mailing list or joined a webinar from these YouTube shorts. They work. So they're great for video content, especially with lead capture forms. The display network, these where ads appear on other people's websites, right? You can have your ads showing other places. Remarketing also is done through Google pay-per-click, right? Or Google paid ads. Remarketing, you ever go to a website and you see their ads everywhere else that you go? They're in Facebook, they're in, some website you're on, they're in even a local site, you're on your phone, you see them. That's called remarketing. Anytime that you hit a website, you can then be remarketed to once you visit that website. But that's only going to happen once somebody actually visits your site. Remarketing is great for kind of staying top of mind, keeping your even if like someone abandoned a shopping cart, you could have it say, hey, forget something, that can kind of show up, or a product they might have been looking at can show up, but it kind of keeps you in their mind as the owner of the business, keeps you in their mind, keeps them seeing you. And of course, if you're selling products, you can get into the Google Merchant Center and get your products fed into Google Shopping and have those products showing up there. Your paid ads, though, your primary search paid ads, show up at the top of Google, and they're now showing at the bottom of Google. And you're also beginning to see more of the paid ads in local, right? So here is in the pressure washing, you see it says ad. It's actually showing up in the map pack, and now they're showing 4, right? So you have the ad and the 3 other listings that are showing there. We're seeing more and more of this starting to happen now. So keep an eye out for that, and you can also be showing up in the local too if you're using pay-per-click. Remember, though, it's a complementary solution to organic SEO. It is not competitive. They're not like at odds with one another. People complain if you're really doing pay-per-click solely, you're going to say how organic's too long, it takes forever, blah, blah, blah. If you're doing organic, you're saying, why do you want to pay for leads when you get it for free? And if you turn off your pay-per-click, your leads dry up. Both are true. They should be complementary, not competitive. And when it comes to pay-per-click, in order to rank better than somebody else, it's all about what's called the quality score. Quality score is a big topic, but it's really composed of 3 basic areas, which is expected click-through rate, relevancy, and landing page experience, right? Expected click-through rate is should we expect people to, how often out of every 100 times your ad is shown, do 10 people click on it or do 5 people click on it? Or does 1 person click on it? Google will kind of estimate what an expected click-through rate is, and you either need to outperform that, or if you underperform it, lower quality score. How relevant is your ad to what people are looking for? How relevant is that to the page you're sending them to? And then the landing page experience, right? Is the page loading fast? Is it easy to navigate? Does it have, like a terms of service or privacy policy on there? You're going to collect information from there. All of these things add up to whether you have a high or a low quality score. Higher quality score is going to lead to better and more impressions and lower prices, higher rankings as well. So you want to minimize the impressions that you get when you're increasing your click-through rate, and don't search for listings. Don't search for your own listings, I should say. And you're going to actually lower your quality score because you're adding an impression. Every time you add an impression, right, it's like, okay, potential is there to be clicked, but you didn't click on it. So now if you're looking for your site 20 times a day, and out of every 100, you're 20 of those clicks, well, your click-through rate is going to be lower. So don't look for your site all the time. There's tools within Google Ads that let you do that, so you can see where you're showing up, where you're not going to impact the number of impressions that you're putting out there. Local service ads, the other ones that we talked about, they're at the top of Google. These are sometimes called LSAs. It's another form of advertising in the Google Ads, but it's kind of separate. It allows local businesses to be prominently displayed at the very, very top of Google when people search for services they offer. There's 2 different listings show up on mobile and up to 3 on the desktop. And LSAs are also featured in Google's Assistant's responses to relevant voice searches. So the Google Assistant inquires about the searcher's job type and location to ensure a quality match for the advertising. Now, it's not easy to get in here, okay? Only certain types of business can get in. And depending on the type of business, there's 3 different variations that you can go through. But what's important about these is these local service ads, they show above the paid ads, they show above the Google business profiles, they show above the people also ask sections, and they show above the organic listings. They are the numero uno thing at the very top of Google when you're searching for the types of businesses that fit into them. And you can see it right there. I put in personal injury attorney, like near me or Tampa, and there's Google screen 2 attorneys right here, pictures, message call right there, okay? Reviews are right there. You don't have to go any further to make a decision to call one of those folks. Now, there's 3 types of these local service ads available. You've got your Google Guaranteed. The Google Guaranteed is as it sounds. Google will guarantee the work done, right? Like HVAC and other kind of home improvement type things, home services. They're basically going to get screened. They're going to have their licenses checked. They're going to have background checks. They have to prove that they have insurance. And if you, as a business owner, go out to them and you're a Google Guarantee and you do something that the client doesn't like and they can complain to Google, and Google can actually give them money. They may pay them back. I think it's up to like $2,400 as a guarantee. So Google, that's why Google does this. That's why they do the background check and the license check and all this stuff to make sure that you are a reputable business that's going to do the job that you're asked to do. That's Google Guarantee. You have Google Screened. And this is more of where Google has screened you, right? There's no actual professional service. Maybe you don't need to be licensed for things, but they're screening your information, your business processes, and so on. And they're saying, yep, these are good folks. And you have a license that's been verified by Google. There is a lot of this out here, okay? I actually put a link in here. It tells you what different types of businesses can come into it. This is actually different ways to jumpstart your campaign. They've got some different, what are Google local service ads? How does it work? How much are in there? How do you set it up? It's all in here. It does give you all the information about like what services, like if you're a business, like lawyer, you can get information about that, right? Here's the eligible businesses: bankruptcy lawyer, criminal lawyer, real estate lawyer, and so on. If I were to go to a home, right, here's the eligible services like appliance, carpenter, garage door repair, home inspector, home installation. So these are going to be those Google Guaranteed. Whereas something like care, right? These are going to be your Google Screened, your animal shelters, your child care, pet adoption, pet boarding, grooming, training. So these are all additional ways in which you can be seen at the top of Google and kind of have a Google okayed classification in essence, right? Again, this is the first thing that you see. This is that same screen, but here's the rest of the screenshot. As I scroll down this page, this was the next one. Those are the sponsored ads, right? Then scroll down to more. Here's the local. Scroll down some more. Here's the people also ads. Scroll down some more. Finally get to an actual organic listing. So 4th page, the bottom of the 4th screen is the first organic listing. Everything else here is either paid, local listing. So if you're not doing some of this stuff here, I mean, you're a far way away from getting down here, and most people just don't go that route. So be careful. LSAs are pay per lead versus pay per click. You only pay for customer interactions, right? When you get a call or a message or a booking from your ad, it gives you a little bit more control over cost. So you can set a maximum number of leads that you want each week, which can help you manage your ad spend better. And lead costs will vary. I've seen them go from $5 to $90 a lead, depending on the industry. But it can change based on location, the business type, the competition, and the kind of lead that it is, whether it's a message or a direct booking. And only qualified leads are charged. Google does automatically give you like refunds if you are doing something wrong. Use cost per lead to plan. CPL is a cost per lead that can help you set goals, forecast profit, and budget for ads wisely. But they're really good. Now, whole out there, right? But the other thing you got to do now is you've done all that great stuff. Now you got to maintain and monitor your site. So how do you do that, right? Well, one of the best ways is using Google Search Console. Search Console will give you information about Google, what they see, what they like, what they don't like, what they're having problems, if there's speed issues, who's linking to you, what keywords you're getting found for, and so on down the line. You can review your paid advertising and see what maybe A/B testing is going on, try some of that out, see what words are we using, see if people are finding you for things you don't want to be found for, and put in negative keywords. You can track how your site's being used by using things like Google Analytics. I love Clarity. Clarity actually can show you recordings of people visiting your website. Love it. There's also tools like Web Trends. A lot of folks are like anti-Google. They don't want to use analytics, so you can use Web Trends or Adobe Analytics or Matomo. to kind of get some of that same tracking. This tells you a bit about what people do when they get to your website, right? Or how long are they staying there for? How many pages are they visiting? What parts of their site are maybe they interacting? Where did they land on the page? Where did they come from to get to your page? All important. And of course, you want to review how you're ranking in search, right? So SEM, I got a typo there. SEM Rush is great. Ahrefs, Moz Pro, Uber Suggest, and again, even Google Search Console will give you some idea of that too. Of course, you want to tweak your site's content where it makes sense. If you find maybe you're close to ranking well for a keyword phrase in some of these tools, but you're not quite there yet, well, sometimes changing up some of your content, adding some more content, adding a few more internal links from other pages to that page, maybe swapping out or changing out your title tags, the things we talked about earlier can help move the needle a bit more. And of course, you got to keep adding regular content. You want to shoot for at least 100 pages of your website overall. 4 or 5 page websites definitely are going to fail against a page that's got 100 pages of valuable content on it. Other kinds of online marketing out there we're not covering. Email marketing. I have a whole class of email marketing in our membership program. Autoresponders that automatically send people regular updates, weekly or monthly, whatever it may be. Video content, affiliate marketing, newsletters, Amazon shopping, eBay stores, and there's tons of other ways that you could be out there marketing your business on the web. But stay informed and up to date by looking at things like how do you keep up with all this, right? Well, do what I do. I check out the Google algorithm change history. It's a great little tool. This actually will show you all of the changes that have happened since in Google since 2002. I think they go back to 2000, yeah. And you can look at each one, what changed, when it changed. They use sort of like a weather, right? So if it's very hot, it means something's really big going on that day. Lots of times when there's big changes to the algorithm, Google's core algorithm update, we can kind of see where there's big issues going on. And then this tool will also tell you like when the updates were, what the dates they were, if it was confirmed or unconfirmed by Google. And often you'll get a link to some other stories about the update that can maybe help you see what's wrong or fix what maybe is broken if possible. We have the local search ranking factors. This used to be like the holy Bible for local search ranking factors. This was one of them from Moz. There was another one from David Mim that was also a great one, but it's been out of date for a little while. This is also a little bit out of date as well. But there's a lot that goes into what will help you rank in a local market. Again, I strongly encourage you guys to come out to my Google Business Profile Blueprint Masterclass that's coming up next week. We'll talk more about it before we end. And then this tool is also really good if this is the Penguin tool, and this can help you figure out if you may have gotten hit by a Google penalty, because if your rankings have fallen off, you might want to go to a Penguin tool and check to see, does your drop off kind of occur simultaneously with a change in Google's algorithm? And if they do, maybe a problem there. You can go to some websites, my own website. Oops, sorry, too far there. Search engine news, search engine land, search engine journal, moz.com, all have great information about what's been going on in Google, what changes are going on, not just Google, but other search engines, social, you name it. Search engine news has been that's been around as long as I've been around, because I bought my first book on SEO from Search Engine News, and I've been a member for, it's almost 30 years now. Got it in 1990, end of 1996, I think I got, maybe it was 97. So I subscribe to them. It's paid. But you get a lot of great information there, a lot of great details there. And then if you want some help, there's local tools to evaluate, like Bright Local, Local Falcon, Place to Scout, and Moz can all help you with your local listing. If you want to submit your site, you can submit it through Whitespark, Yext, or Local Site Submit. This is all for local help. For local citation finding, help you find other places to get listed. And of course, listen, we've been here a while, right? An hour and 40 minutes. You might feel overwhelmed by all of this. Trust me, I know. Why do I know? Because these are the things that we do for clients all the time. So the more clients we have, the more of this stuff we have to do, more involved. It's a lot. I know it. So if you need some help, I'm here, right? We offer monthly SEO services to do all that stuff for you. We have consulting services if you just need some direction or help or understanding where you might be having a problem. We do website audits and assessments to see, is everything okay with your site? We also offer on-demand SEO training courses through our membership program. And we have private SEO training where we can customize training for your company, your needs, either at your place or at mine. And of course, soon enough, live in-person training is coming back soon. I miss being in a classroom with people, looking at me eye to eye and not looking at the camera, but looking eye to eye. I'm going to start doing some of that soon, probably in the end of the third or the beginning of the fourth quarter this year. But if you need my help, reach out to me, stevescottseo.com. from the website, Steve at stevescottseo.com, or message me, call me here, or just set up a 15-minute consultation at 15min.stevescottseo.com. Happy to help. Wrapping up, we covered a lot of ground today. I know that, but the thing about all this is hopefully this hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes or so can do a couple things. Give you some basic ideas on what you need to be doing, right? Help give you a little bit of ideas on what you can do to fix some of the things in these areas and what's important. Give you some tools that you might not have known that you can use that are both free and some paid that can help you get to the places that you need to be, and just give you some ideas on how to deal with the influx of AI, how to deal with all the different social media programs and all the paid stuff that's going on, how to keep an eye on and track those things out there. Okay. Just a few more things before I let you guys go and look through the questions. Again, I want to tell you about my Google Business Profile Masterclass. It is next week, June 17th and 18th. Both days are going to start at 1 p.m. I'm going to go to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'm going to have that bonus Q&A session on June 23rd. It's Monday from 1 to 2 p.m. Go to ssseo.pro or stevescottseo.pro/GBP to get to the page. Like I said, it's only $47 for like 6+ hours of content. You're also going to get all of the replay material for yours. It's yours to keep. And you can come back and watch whenever you want. And you get that free live session on Monday where you can ask any questions and really get the hang of it. Remember my membership program, 80 hours of content here. We talked about structured data. I've got a whole thing on structured data, right? We talked a bit about ADA compliance. We have a whole thing on that. We've talked about the tools that you need for your tool belt. We've got that. We've got everything about onset optimization, optimizing your videos, optimizing your images. I mean, we cover a ton of stuff in the membership program. And the best bet is you can also reach out to me. You can message me. You can come into our Q&As and so on. Check out the website by going to allstars.stevescottseo.com. Or if you want, I have a special offer for folks that come out to these. If you go to mvplifetime.stevescottseo.com, we are going to give you our MVP level access. That's the $197 per month access for just $97 per month. Okay. And basically it's 50% off every month after a 30-day free trial. So you're gonna get a month to check it out. And if you stay with it, you're gonna be charged $97, but you're gonna get the 197 level. It's gonna save you $1,200 a year by doing this. And you're gonna get the same access levels here, access to me, Q&As, website audits, and so on down the line. mvplifetime.stevescottseo.com. Check it out. All right. Now, before we break, before I end the session altogether, again, just a quick couple of things here. If you found this interesting or helpful, I would love it if you could help me out with a review of some sort, right? Whether you go to Google or Facebook or any of the big ones, please go out there and leave me a review. It really helps us here. There's a lot of work and effort that goes into putting these things together, as you can well imagine. So if you can go and leave a review, that would be great. If you have a specific issue you'd like my help with, I've already mentioned that in the previous slide or two, but just go ahead and visit me at stevescottseo.com. You can book up, there's a little button, you can book a 15-minute free call from there. You can just give me a call and chat whenever you like. You can join my newsletter. That's going to give you information about like when we go with the live training, when we have new master classes coming up, when we're doing our live stuff. And so on. Go to newsletter.stevescottseo.com and join our newsletter as soon as you can. And I'd love you to check out my calendar of events. This is where we get all the details on my next training sessions, where it will be, what topics we're going to be covering. Like today was the marketing your business. We have an Ask Anything on Mondays. And of course, as I mentioned before, we have our masterclass coming up. Just go to calendar.stevescottseo.com to get to those sessions and see what's coming up. And then, of course, I'd love for you guys to go and subscribe to my YouTube channel. We're just closing in our 200th subscriber. I hope it'll be one of you guys. Please go join my thing, hit subscribe. Keep an eye on that. We're really trying to build that up. We do lots of things here, short form stuff, cuts from some of our other classes. A couple of whole classes that we do from our membership is in there as well. And we even have little shorts and things of that nature as well. So please come check it out. Visit my site. Okay, I'm gonna just go check the Q&A something here. I don't see anything, which I guess is a good sign. Let me check out one other thing here. Well, the place to check. Okay, I see. So someone said, what about a domain that's 20 years old but has had zero traffic for 5 years? Doesn't place on Google at all. Is the age of it still matter? Well, it's only going to matter if you actually have content on it, right? It's one thing to have a domain that's been around for a long time, but to just go buy a domain name and like switch to from what it was to something new, that doesn't work anymore. Actually, Google changed that a bunch of years back. But I have a site called Starship Compute. I actually have a site called search.engine-optimization.com. Been around for 20 plus years. It's been sitting stagnant for a long time. It's about search engine optimization. It's the agency that I've run in the past. And it's got links to it. It's got stuff that's been sitting there running consistently for a long time, but it's been sitting stagnant. Now, if I were to go in, revamp the whole thing, make it current, make it modern, start to add a lot more content, start getting it busy, it's going to have a little bit more value than if it's a brand new website because it has some links already. It's already been around a little bit, so it definitely can have some value in the long run. All right, so I have another one here. Someone asked, what's the point of being the answer given by Google AI if the user just reads the answer and leaves? How can we get them to actually click on the source, also track landings from AI Google Answers? Let me start with the last question there. Currently, there is no real good way to track any kind of landings from AI Google Answers, all right? I know there was an article I just read. I just read something from, what's his name from Rusty Brick? I can't remember his name. Anyway, currently nothing yet, but we have been hearing things that Google Search Console may begin to include things that are coming in from AI, Google Answer, AI overviews, okay? So that's the first part of that, or last part of that. So what's the point of being the answer given by Google if the user just reads the answer and leaves? That is just about branding, right? Your name is there. That's what we talked about, putting your name into the listing there. It can help for sure. So definitely want to think about doing that. And let's face it, I don't know about you, but I have gotten an AI overview, had say show more, and then went, huh, what's this? And I clicked on a link and got to a link. So I have gone to those links. They're not often I do it. I'd probably say maybe 10 or 15% of the time I get an AI overview answer will I click on a link, but I'm often going to want to know a bit more sometimes. And so that can help you. If you're not in that link, then you have no chance of getting found. So I'd rather have a chance than no chance. So that's the other answer to that. And how can we get them to actually click on the source? Only thing is it's got to be super interesting, super impactful, and they've got to really want to. It really comes down to that. So we're seeing a lot more of this happening these days. We're seeing a lot less traffic, foot traffic. I say foot traffic coming into our websites, but it's happening. AI overviews is real. AI mode is now coming into play as well. So more of that searching, but being kind of communicating like back and forth like a friend, kind of how like ChatGPT is these days. So that's something there to keep in mind too. Another question I have is lots of random websites have my site link on theirs, but they're not valuable or even in my industry mostly. Do these backlinks hurt my rankings? Great question. They can hurt your rankings. It just depends upon the type of link that it is, right? If it's a site that is de-indexed from Google, if it's a site that's completely irrelevant to your industry, your business, or let's say you're a local business here in the Tampa Bay area, and this site list is from Russia, or Portugal or something, and completely out of your topic area. Well, there's no value in that whatsoever. This is, again, where it's really helpful to have some of these tools out there that can help. Majestic can help with this, giving you some idea of good or bad tools. SEMrush, really good tool. That Ahrefs, really great tool. It'll take a look at the links. It'll look at what kind of links they are. It'll look at the domain authority, look to see if they're actually still indexed by Google or not. And you could then make a decision on whether you want to kind of disavow those links. In fact, in the membership program, we have a whole section on disavows, what they are, how to use them, how to get rid of stuff. Check it out, but it definitely can impact you if you have a lot of what are called toxic domains linking to you, or if you have a lot of these domains linking to you using money words and not your brand, not your naked URL, or some combination of that. So yeah, it can impact you. There is the Penguin algorithm is just baked into Google now, but if you have too many links from crappy websites, it's kind of like I always use the example: if people see you hanging out with gangsters, they assume you're a gangster, right? And so you don't want to be seen with the bad neighborhoods, and you don't want to have links from sites that are no good either. So be careful about that. Another one I have here is, I heard or read somewhere that websites were going to get phased out. What are your thoughts? Well, I don't think websites are going to get phased out, right? There's still going to be websites. People are still going to want to know about a business. But I think what's happening is we're seeing less and less people coming to those websites directly. And I think what's going to happen as well is as AI mode takes over, as more of the searching within AI itself takes over, as we start to communicate with things like ChatGPT and AI overviews as well, like, you know, like a counselor, like a person, like a friend, like a colleague, whatever. We're going to be more, it's going to be more important than ever to have these, you know, answer engine overview and content ready for those topics, so that when people do want to know more, they can get sent off to you. You are seeing, for example, things like ChatGPT are now listing out the sources of the location. And we are seeing ChatGPT and Claude and some of the other tools that are actually reporting in GA4, that Google Analytics 4, that we have traffic from ChatGPT. So clearly, people are still going to websites when they're truly interested. And kind of the buzz we're hearing is that when people do come to these sites, they're way more engaged and way more interested than if they just kind of hit your website during initial search. So I think there's something to say about that as well. But I don't think websites are going to get phased out completely, because let's face it, you got to have something to show who you are, right? People still want to know who you are. You're still going to be going to networking meetings, giving out business cards and whatnot. People want to know who they're dealing with, what you do, what you offer, what your pricing is, communicate with you, talk to you as well. So I think it'll still be there. All right, so someone's going back. This is back to that 20-year-old domain name. The owner wants to charge me 3.5K for it. Not sure if it's really worth it, just for the age and the great URL name. Okay, so again, if you're buying a name and a URL just for the age, and you're going to be changing what that URL is, like what it's about, you know. So if I had, you know, Steve Scott SEO, and you know, everything was about SEO, 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 and then I got rid of it for some reason, and then somebody whose last name was SEO wanted to grab it, well, they may wind up, you know, changing it for something completely different, a different topic as well. So unless there's value in the name for you, like if you have a reason for that name, then it's good to have it, right? But if you're trying to kind of capitalize on any of the links that might be built to that URL, any of the content that's been built to that URL already, if you're changing what that URL is about, it's not going to help you, right? It used to back in the day, but Google got really smart about this, and they saw people were buying up domain names strictly because of the age and some of the value, the domain authority that came with them. But that domain authority comes from links. So if you're, you know, if you're buying up a domain, and the domain was all about, you know, pet training, dog training, for argument's sake, and now you're going to be using it for a supermarket, well, the links coming to the pet training center are going to be totally different than supermarket links. So those links are not going to be valuable. They're going to be off topic. They're going to be outside of the geographic area potentially. So yeah, probably not the best bet. But again, is the name worthwhile to you? Like lots of folks buy a domain name or take over a domain name because they want the branding to be that domain name. So it's really more of a business decision in that case than getting value out of having the aged name. Okay. Anything else? I don't see any other questions here. Give it another moment or so. Don't see anything else though. Anyway, listen, guys, it's getting late. We went a hell of a lot longer than I expected, but honestly, you know, when I do these things to put them together, I want to make sure you guys are getting the value out of this, you know, all the way through. And so hopefully you guys got some of that value out of there. Again, if you need any help at all, any other additional questions you might like, please reach out to me, you know, either at stevescottseo.com, call me directly, throw me an email. But again, thank you guys for joining me. Thanks for sticking through the long one here. I hope this was helpful, and I hope that you get some value out of this, and reach out if there's anything else that I can do. Thanks again for coming out. We'll talk with you soon. Bye now.